Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Just because the Kickoff Classic is over does not mean we don't have some spicy stuff to sink our teeth into today. After Simp calls out Drazah for abusing the one-way smokes in yesterday's match, Kenny comes back and says, look, if Cellium got away with what he was doing last year, Drazah should be allowed to do something similar. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, it's the best thing you can do. Top of the channel reach new people, please do subscribe as well if you have not yet already. Loads of new subs this past weekend. Love to see it. Road to 100k, road to 75k though first. This firstly from the Core Legend League. Toronto, of course, champions of the weekend. And well, Cammy, I was kind of surprised that he said in this post-game interview, they were very surprised they won this. They came in, they're not on the greatest form in scrims behind the scenes. And most people have kind of said it really that Toronto, maybe they're not quite where they were last year. They come in and win the first event regardless. And even as aBeZy says, I thought this was quite remarkable that when they were back in Europe quite recently over the holidays, they were getting tucked for a month straight by the top 2 EU rosters. And of course, well, these aren't even rosters that are in the league, right? These are just amateur teams. Does make you think the talent that, of course, we've seen, the likes of CleanX, Cammy on Toronto, but also, you know, Pred, Simp, Hydra, these guys that have been picked up very recently, what they've brought to the league, like how much more talent might potentially be out there in these regions as well. I guess he's talking about some of the Spanish guys also, probably that was one of the teams they were playing against because the Spanish guys are doing really well. Real Madrid, I'm pretty sure they were called in the Challengers Cups. Like, you know, hopefully if a Spanish team, a Madrid team comes in, those guys can be next up at some point or another. This also I thought was kind of funny from Mack Meltzer, right? GG's Toronto, tough loss. Pretty sure in that final map on the Berlin Harbour they got kind of bodied, and well, he drops a 7-bomb, says Mack. So shout out Doug. Unfortunately, no Doug reply to this one as of yet. This also from accuracy, right? Just wanted to shout out this guy because, of course, what he's done with this team already, like, I think there's very few in-game leaders, frankly, and you know, veteran players the likes of accuracy that could take the pieces that he's had and immediately put them together into a team that actually is contending for championships. Now, like, some might say they missed their chance here. Like, the rest of the season, the other top teams might get better, right? Like FaZe and Optic, you'd expect them to be up there at some point or another. So look, can Seattle continue this? But it's just a great start for these guys, right? Barely they've even played on LAN before, and especially in a LAN Grand Finals. So definitely exciting prospects for these guys' future ahead. And as Slasher says, kind of a similar thing. Put some respect on Lamar's name, one of the best leaders in Call of Duty, period. So impressive what he's been able to do so far. And well, excited to see how this season goes, because already the storylines are out of control, frankly. And well, it's just really exciting how things are going. But also very exciting is the drama that was hitting the timeline last night. So we looked at this a few days ago between Drazah and Simp, when Drazah says, look, someone's got to get smokes out, and well, Simp effectively accuses him of abusing the one-way. So effectively, the smokes in this game, there's a feature, I'm pretty sure it's not even a bug, I'm pretty sure it's a feature the developers put there deliberately, whereas in certain situations, you can kind of see through a smoke, and if you're slightly further away from the guy that has the smoke, you can't see through it. So the idea is that if you're close to a smoke, you can kind of see through it a little bit, but if you're farther away, you can't. So what this kind of means is, if you have a smoke and you're in a 1v1 or something, drop the smoke at your feet, and then you'll kind of be able to see through it more than the other guy will. This seems to be what Drazah kind of did yesterday to win a 1v1 against Toronto, and it's been talked about for quite some time now that, okay, maybe you shouldn't do this, like, okay, yes, it's an abusable thing, but generally Simp was saying not many people do it against me, with the exception pretty much of Drazah, who does like to abuse it sometimes in scrims and stuff like this, and we saw that to some degree in yesterday's matches. Now, of course, like, it is a feature in the game, right? That is how it works. Smokes are allowed right now, therefore, like, why should you not be able to do it? But, well, that's kind of a similar argument maybe that the FaZe guys were using for Cellium last year, and now, well, they're having a go at Drazah for doing this. So definitely an interesting dichotomy that kind of, well, Kenny latches onto, as we shall see. So this, of course, was the original tweet. This is the clutch that, well, Drazah makes right here up against Cammy, and, well, up against CleanX, sorry. He drops the smoke on him. Like, you can kind of see CleanX, it looks like, when CleanX can't see him, and then it helps him win the 1v1. So, okay, that's kind of Call of Duty at the end of the day, but, still, some people weren't particularly happy about this, given that smokes in general, like, the pros kind of say, look, don't use them like this. We don't want to GA them. We want to just use them to smoke crosses and cut off snipers. We'll talk about what Octane had to say on that, though, in a few minutes' time here. But, you know, Drazah's using that like this. So that's when the drama kind of came from that we talked about last night. And as Simp said, you know, well-deserved loss for doing this in a match. The exact reason smokes shouldn't be in competitive right now because they have this kind of one-way bug that's going on that the pros obviously aren't happy about, even though it seems to actually be intentional. Maybe the developers can fix it somehow in the official CDL rules. Now, Kenny says the following. So he's not happy about his teammate getting called out like this because, yeah, of course, the Thieves guys lose to Ultra. Toronto go on to win the tournament. And, well, Kenny comes back to Simp because certainly last year there was some spice between Kenny and Simp and the whole snaking situation. The Cellium stuff especially, right? We know that Cellium last year, he liked to bounce up and down behind head glitches. And, well, it was especially the Los Angeles Thieves guys that weren't very happy about that, right? Seems to be a mechanic that, well, most people don't like in the game. And, well, Simp, of course, is calling out this abusive mechanic. And therefore, Kenny's like, I mean, look, you're not going to be calling out Cellium for doing what he was doing last year. here. So as he says, the same energy should be applied to snaking, but we are still not ready for that conversation, says Kenny. So look, Simp isn't going to lie down and roll over, right? Like he's kind of taken on this whole villain mentality recently. He's going to fire back in business. And well, that means we have a very entertaining exchange indeed to dive into. So as it continues, MC got roasted all year. Should Drazah, so Drazah should be too, right? Which is kind of interesting because, okay, yes, to some degree, Cellium did certainly get roasted by a lot of the pros, but it was still continuing to some degree, right? Like there was some sort of snaking patch that came through, didn't really seem to affect too much. There were certainly situations where Cell were trying to abuse things to the best of his ability. For example, on that, the generator or the satellite, whatever they call it, I'm pretty sure, over at that control point on Garrison, like that's where, kind of Cellium found his home. Now, some people would consider that snaking, some people wouldn't because it was just kind of crouch spamming, but there certainly were other places where Cellium liked to snake up and down a bit, and it was guys like Kenny and the Thieves guys especially that they, weren't particularly happy with. And interestingly, I'm pretty sure it's February the 6th when these guys, FaZe versus Thieves, is actually the first match of the season. Those matches were always pretty heated last year, and I'm pretty sure it's the third day of the season this year. We get to enjoy that game again, so exciting stuff. But, as Kenny says, and he continues to do it and is praised for it, he says. So some people say, Cellium, just abuse whatever's possible in the game, like play the game to your best of your ability. Other people say, Cellium abusing this mechanic, what's he playing at? Kenny says, I guess Drazah is the new smoke demon with that reasoning. You can do it too, though. Hashtag FaZe ups. Like, at the end of the day, who cares about the thing? If you can do it, if Cellium's doing it, we can do it as well. Drazah, why are you complaining about the smoke strike? Double standards is kind of what Kenny's getting at. Now, Simp isn't going to take this one lying down. He comes back with the following. It's also pretty weird how snaking got patched and still destroyed all of you and Drazah and everyone else in the league last year. So, Simp kind of embracing this villain role. Kenny isn't really buying it. He says patched. Okay, we'll call it that because there were some changes. Not really sure it changed all that much. And that was when you weren't doing this fake villain thing. It doesn't fit you, says Kenny, right? So yeah, Simp's trying to, rile everyone up, I guess. And Kenny's not really buying it. But, pretty spicy stuff, I can't lie. And exciting to see these guys are going to match up with each other relatively soon. And, Chino says in the reply as well, didn't they even revert that nerf? So something happened about the crouch spamming. And then they're like, I don't know, it didn't seem to make too much difference. I swear my Huke was still doing crazy stuff. I don't remember, says Simp. I just know, put some respect on MC, that being Cellium's name. He doesn't need the snakes to be the god that he is. That's certainly true. We know Cellium's disgusting regardless, but he does like to, abuse mechanics that are available. You guys might remember back in Modern Warfare, right, when there was on Piccadilly, and he was laying down on that kind of ticket booth thing, and he was just like scrolling back and forth to get some aim assist through it. It's like classic Cellium type stuff. It's just, I guess, the way he likes to play the game, but some pros obviously aren't going to be happy about it, right? And as Kenny says, nobody's ever discredited MC, but you fools defend his snaking, which is hilarious. When was the last time snaking was even discussed? It was a big topic, of course, like February, March last year, and then a little bit later on in the season, but still, since then hasn't really been talked about all that much apart from the Garrison thing, frankly. And then Kenny says to finish off the job, this is going nowhere, bro. Good luck this year. And they kind of ended off there. Likewise, he says. So okay, yes, that's kind of Kenny's had enough of this conversation. But as Simp says right here, when was the last time snaking was discussed? And Clay comes into the fight as well, so everyone's getting involved. I love you to death, but MCP2 Gary last year was an absolute menace, right? That's kind of second R point, the control point as well. That kind of B control, I guess it was. And obviously you would like sitting up on top of there. But as Simp says, that top satellite spot was not snaking. That was a literal glitch spot you could shoot through, and you had to spam at crouch to see through it, which is true. But it was Cellium who most preferred that spot. Some people, I guess, did kind of use it. I think some pros consider that to kind of be snaking and therefore didn't want to. So definitely interesting stuff. And as Octane says, I think it's time we all get off Twitter for the evening. This convo is maybe not the greatest, but things kind of close up here in the end. And as Simp goes, snaking on a head glitch isn't a head glitch at all. If it was such an issue, why wasn't that spot GA'd? Which is an interesting point, because I guess the pros didn't really GA that spot. It was still allowed to be used, but still, I guess Cellium was the best at taking advantage of it. Not bad at all from the pro players on the timeline. Every time these topics come up, it's very entertaining, and it does just set the scenes very nicely indeed for, the FaZe versus LA Thieves battle, I guess, for this upcoming season as well, especially if Thieves are actually good this year, right? And Azuma says, this is maybe the crux of the issue, right? The pros wouldn't have to go at it on the timeline if there wasn't issues with the game, because if the smokes didn't work as they do, then this wouldn't be an issue, I guess, for Drazah using it like this, and therefore Simp wouldn't have said what he said, and therefore Kenny wouldn't have clapped back and saying there's double standards here with the way you guys treat Cellium. So, it's a crazy situation. I guess we'll maybe see some more on this in the coming days. The developers might be able to do something about this, right, in the CDL rules, if the pros push for it hard enough, and the CDL has a word behind the scenes, as it seems like they may have been able to do a couple of times before. This also from Octane, though, because a lot of people say, okay, if smokes are too overpowered, if people like Drazah are going to abuse the smokes in the way that they are, therefore, do we have to GA the smokes? Do the smokes have to go? Now, what the pros keep saying for some reason, if his smokes go, then snipers just have to go as well. That's just how it works. 2 + 2 = 4. But I'm not sure it's actually that simple, and Octane kind of agrees. ways. Like, also, just my opinion, maybe I'm hammered, smokes and snipers do not correlate at all, which, you know, a lot of people said, okay, you've got to have smoke so you can block off the sniper angles. How many times this weekend did we actually see someone throw a smoke to block off a sniper angle? It did happen sometimes, and people did use smokes to do crosses, but generally it wasn't really the case, right? Either, like, the smokes didn't really work, or the teams weren't coordinated enough. So it's like, okay, even with smokes not really being used much to counter the snipers, were snipers too strong? Like, I would argue no, right? Even in the line of sight that maybe smokes could have come out, but for some reason they weren't thrown, or like the pros didn't have the lineups quite yet, and all this type of stuff. Still, snipers didn't really seem too strong, in my opinion. The flinch is obviously, like, massive as well, right? Like, if you get hit by one bullet from an MP40 or an automaton, you're going to miss your shot. So I really don't think they're that strong. And as well, Octane says, the amount of times smokes are used to counter a sniper and how often they're actually used otherwise aren't even close, right? That's the thing. Like, it's very rare they're actually used to deliberately counter a sniper, and that therefore this whole, like, well, if smokes have to go, then snipers have to go discussion is that, well, probably doesn't carry much merit. But we'll see what the pros do, because if they decide, as a result of this Drazah situation, that smokes have to get out of there because people are abusing the one-ways, even though maybe it makes more sense just to kind of GA people from doing the one-way, even though, of course, that's kind of hard to enforce. We always get into these issues every single year with the gentleman's agreements, but, you know, maybe alternative is, okay, well, smokes have to go entirely. Does that mean snipers have to go? Octane would say no, right? Octane was obviously pretty good with the sniper this weekend. I imagine he's thinking, look, if smokes have to go, don't get the snipers out as well. There's no precedent for that based on what we saw this weekend. Maybe some of the pros will try it. I thought it was quite remarkable on the sniper situation, frankly, that all these teams said it was so overpowered. We saw a couple of pop-up maps, maybe with someone with the sniper rifle. Of course, a guy on the other team gets to use it as well. And also some teams like LAG weren't even using one to start with, despite how good apparently it is. So, you know, quite remarkable, really. And just to finish out the video with this is crazy. We heard about this quite a while ago now, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was on the Breckenboy podcast or something that this was first talked about. But yes, it definitely was the case that at some point or another, well, Paris Legion had talked to Hydra and Pred, I'm pretty sure, about getting these guys onto their roster going into Cold War. They, well, decided not to do that, went down a very different route. And of course, well, these guys are matching up yesterday on the main stage. It was Pred who came out on top in that particular series. But yeah, kind of incredible. It could have been for Paris. They fumbled the bag pretty big time on this one, I imagine. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit in a like button. Tells the YouTube gods it's a good video. And as like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.